it's Dr. Hayes, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about everything I read in May. So I read 9 books. Oof, it's a hefty pile, so they're a bit thicker. So it's looking quite tall, so we're just gonna talk through them. I'm gonna try and keep this as spoiler free as possible, and of course I'd love to know what you read in May. So let's just get into this. The first book I want to talk about is The Toll, I don't know which one, by Neal Shusterman. So this is the final one at the minute, I believe, in the Arc of the Scythe trilogy. I know there is like a collection of short stories called Gleanings, which is like set in the world but doesn't really continue the story, hence why short stories. Personally, I don't really care for it. Like I'm not that, that's not the kind of thing I would like to read. So I'm not going to read that, but I do believe there is another one being written. I think there's like a prequel before the first Arc of the Scythe book, so I'm going to be interested to read that when it comes out. But as for right now, I believe this is the last one in the Arc of the Scythe. That I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I'm not sure if I've talked about this series on my channel before. I think I read the other 2 in the series before I even started my channel, but I do really like it. However, just as like an overall note on the series, I think I want to do like a whole video deep diving on the series. But like, I really struggled with it to imagine the setting. Not the world, I understood all the world building and the role of the Scythe, the role of the Thunderhead, the roles of the Nimbus agents. Not the world building, as in all the conceits that make this new world as it is, but as in like actual descriptions of what things look like. It's not to say there is none. Like for example in here where they go to the islands and stuff, with the island of Nod, that's really well described, but just like as a general thing, there really isn't much description of setting, so I was just like, I feel like maybe possibly need more of that, which is why it was 4 stars, because I did really enjoy it, but I was just like, it's kind of missing. And then another thing I have a problem with over the course of the whole series is Rowan and Citra's relationship. I think it's cute, I think it's sweet, I especially love the ending of this book. I won't spoil it for you, but it's so cute. The last line of the book, I was like, oh my god. I didn't cry. I don't cry very often at books, but it was very, very good. Love the ending of this book. However, just overall, I feel like in the first one, it was kind of executed poorly. Like, I 100% expected them to get together because they were the girl and boy in the situation, they were the same age, doing the same thing. 100% expected it. It didn't come out of nowhere. However, I didn't really feel like it was developed well enough between them for them to have this bond. I felt like a lot was missing. Like I said, I'm going to do like a full video going into it, but I just felt like it fell a bit flat. So because it wasn't established well in the first one, then it falls flat in the second and in the third. If you establish something well enough, it'll like carry you through, right? So yeah, I do like the relationship, but I just feel like it could have been established better in the first one, so it would be even better in the second and the third one. However, one reason why I really love this book was because Grayson was more of a main character, and Grayson and the Thunderhead are my 2 favourite characters in the whole series. So I really enjoyed it, 4 stars, and honestly I do think Neal Shusterman is probably one of my favourite authors, so really enjoyed it. I have another of his books called Dry, and I also started reading the Unwind series, and I have been trying for the longest time to find the sequel, but it's always sold out, no stock currently coming on Waterstones and stuff. However, on Amazon I have managed to find a whole box set of it, and usually I don't buy a whole series. I know oftentimes it is usually cheaper to buy them all together than individually, but I'm like, well, what if I don't like the first one? What am I gonna do with the rest of them if I don't like the second one? You know what I mean? Like, so I don't like to buy whole series like that because I might not like it, but looks like I'm gonna have to. But anyway, 4 stars, it was great. I love Neal Shusterman and I can't wait to read more of his stuff. However, now we're gonna go to 2 books I despised. This is Ringworld by Niven, and this is the Infernal Desire Machines of Dr. Hoffman by Angela Carter, both of which got 1 star. I'm gonna talk about Angela first. Now, if you don't know, if you're unfamiliar with Angela Carter, she writes the weirdest things, which I was completely prepared for. So I did English literature at college, and in the second year we did the whole year, the theme was Gothic writing. So we did Frankenstein, we did Macbeth, and we did Angela Carter's collection, The Bloody Chamber, which is a collection of short stories of fairy tales or fairy tale adjacent stories. So by that I mean there's like 3 stories about Alice in Wonderland in there, there's also Puss in Boots, there's Snow White, I think there's 2 or Beauty and the Beast. It's been a while since I've read it. It was basically fairy tales retold, but absolutely insane and also quite sexual. She does get very sexual. So I'd studied them for a whole year. So I didn't go into this not knowing anything about Angela Carter. I feel like if you went into any Angela Carter novel or short story and you did not know anything about the way she writes, you'd be a bit like, what's going on? So this was not my first rodeo with dear old Angela, and I love The Bloody Chamber. So when I saw one of her novels, I never read one of her novels before, I was like, let's give it a try, Angela. Let's go. I hated it. So basically, this book is about, it's like set, I think, in a city in the US, but it never really goes into details of when exactly it's set or where. It keeps it very ambiguous. It was very much Wes Anderson films, very like in a Wes Anderson film, with like the exception of the Grand Budapest Hotel. You really don't know when or where things are set. It's kept very ambiguous. Kind of felt like that. So this guy, he's like government office worker. He just lives an ordinary life. One night he's at the opera. All of a sudden, apart from him and the opera singers on stage, all of the audience turns into peacocks. And he's like, that is an issue. I am gonna go home. Turns out the city is being besieged by these desire machines that are making things go insane, and he is then tasked with finding this Dr. Hoffman, who is the one doing all of this, and unaliving him. That's the guy's job. So he goes on an adventure to find the guy and do that, and along the way he falls in love with the doctor's daughter. Insane things happen because it's Angela Carter. However, I really did not enjoy it. Like I said, I had the expectation of it being weird, and that's not the reason I disliked it. It was weird. I liked that part of the novel. However, what I disliked is I felt that the strongest part of the novel was the first chapter, which was the first 30 pages, which is set in this city in the US. I'm not sure where it is. I'd never been to the US, so there were no like pinpoints, like landmarks or whatever that I could draw to real places. So I'm not sure where it is. I'm not sure if it's intentionally meant to be somewhere or it's ambiguous. Often when a place is named, it's just given a letter. So I feel like you're not meant to know. But I really felt the section in the city at the start was the strongest bit because you saw the desire machines at work. For the most part, as the novel goes on and he gets captured and he gets put on this boat and all this other stuff, you don't really see the desire machines do anything, and they're really cool. Like at one point they're making the flowers sing, like I said, they're turning people into animals. They're so cool. It's the strongest part of the novel, and it's only really in the first 30 pages and then like right towards the end. So I just a bit like, I didn't care. Like the first chapter I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. But then he leaves the city to find Dr. Hoffman. I'm like, oh. So I was a bit like, okay, so I loved the first chapter. The first chapter is what it got its star, but I hated the rest of it, and I don't like DNF in books, so I did not DNF it. I read the full thing. So now we're going to talk about Ringworld by Larry Niven. Now, as this book says on the front, it is a winner of the Hugo and Nebula Awards for Best Novel, and I don't know why. So this also got 1 star. So basically this book is about this bloke called Louis. He is 200 years old, however he doesn't look 200 due to scientific medical advancement. He still looks probably about my age. I'm 28, he is kind of described as looking in his 20s, even though he's 200. And he has just had his 200th birthday. But as you would be after having 200 birthday parties for yourself, he's like, I'm kind of bored, I'm gonna leave the party early, it's my party, but I'm gonna go. And he ends up meeting an alien. Now in this world, aliens are a normal instance to see, so he's not weirded out or anything. And this alien is like, Louis, I know you don't know me, but I need your help. Basically, this alien lives on another planet, so this bit is set on Earth. The alien lives on another planet, and he's like, my race, this planet, is going to be wiped out. And Louis is like, oh my god, when's this supposed to happen? And you would think with the sense of urgency at the start of the novel, it's going to be next week, next month, even next year perhaps. No, it's going to be in 20,000 years. Now, as someone who is autistic, has OCD, also anxiety, and is also a Virgo, I do greatly appreciate the amount of planning and organisation, the amount of forethought that has gone into this. Like, we're going to be wiped out in 20,000 years, we need to act today. I admire it, but I'm also a bit like, it's going to be in 20,000 years. So as a result of that, even though this alien is like, this is dire, and I imagine in like 19,000 years time, you might be feeling the heat a bit if you haven't got a solution yet, but like, because it's going to be in 20,000 years. There was no urgency, and like I said, Louis is a human, he lives on Earth, he has a pretty good life, he's a bit bored, as you probably would be if you've been alive for 200 years, but he's like, the alien's like, will you come and help? Like, we've found this thing called the Ringworld, we think we might be able to move everyone there before this happens, like, do you think you could help? And he's like, sure, I've got nothing better to do. So it's not, for example, you know, he says yes because he's running away from his responsibilities on Earth, or like he's, I don't know, so he's like been charged for a crime and he's like, I gotta get off the planet before they put me in prison forever or something. He's just bored So I'm like, there was no sense of urgency. I was like, why? You know what I mean? Like, the planet's not going to be wiped out for 20,000 years. He has no reason to do this other than because I can. You know what I mean? So I was a bit like, okay. So anyway, they're joined by another alien called Speaker. And they're also joined by this other human. Now, another reason why this book got 1 star is, first of all, the opening was really good, where it just leaps in with the birthday party and there's a whole another world. I thought it was an amazing opening. And then this character called Teela. Basically, she is human, but she has been basically bred to be like a good luck charm, but as a human. So like a rabbit's foot, a lucky rabbit's foot, or like 4-leaf clover, whatever, kind of like a horseshoe, whatever your lucky charms are, but as a human good luck charm. And I thought that was such an interesting concept. However, right, so she's in a relationship with Louis, but he treats her so horribly. He is horrible to her, and at no point did I think he actually had feelings for her. Everyone was horrible to her. I just felt terrible for her. And at one point she gets lost in space and I was like, Teela, 1, I hope you're okay. 2, don't come back. Everyone's horrible to you. Find a nice alien. Don't come back. I felt terrible for her. So yeah, the opening was great. The character of Teela was wonderful. Everything else I hated. It was just, no, I don't understand why people like it. The Ringworld, basically, if you're wondering, the way I imagined it is basically like Saturn's rings. It's meant to be like 1.6 million kilometers in diameter, so it's an absolutely massive, humongous ring. However, unlike Saturn's rings, you can actually step on this. It's like a livable place. It has mountains, it has water, and they're basically checking if the Ringworld is viable for life for this specific alien race. But yeah, I hated it, and I also kept reading the title as Ringworm, so this is everything about my reading ability, obviously. And of course, up next, I have to give you my May Princess Diaries update. I read 6 and 7, which was Sixsational and Seventh Heaven. Am I getting these all muddled up in my head? You betcha I am. So we're going to talk about number 6 first, and I gave it 5 stars. However, I was slightly annoyed at parts of this book. Okay, so the other week I received some bad news. And it was like, probably like 3 PM when it happened. So I was like, that night, I said to my mum, I was like, can we watch The Princess Diaries? And she was like, sure. Which one? And I was like, the first one, I need some Michael Moscovitz. Now, Michael in the first one, if you've seen it, he really isn't in the film that much. But I've always liked him as a character, and after reading the first 5 Princess Diaries books, Michael has been one of my favourites. He is such a good character in the books. He is in the books a lot more than he is in the first film. And he has become somewhat of a literature comfort character for me. He is up there with Aslan. I love Aslan, I love Michael Moscovitz. However, I hated Michael in this. So, if you don't know, because I don't think it really states their ages in the films, but Mia, when she starts the books, she is 14 years old, she's just started high school in America. And Michael is 17, he is a senior in high school. And basically, as everything is going on, Michael is eventually gonna leave and go to college. Now, he's going to Columbia, which is in New York City, and the Princess Diaries books take place in New York. The films are in San Francisco, but the books are in New York. However, more markedly than in the films, there is an age gap between them. So by the time we get to this book, Mia has had her birthday, she is now 15, and Michael is now 18. So I've always known there was an age gap between them when I've been reading the books. I've been fine with that. It's clear in the first book that Mia is a freshman and Michael is a senior, and like, it's always something playing on her mind, and she's like, why would a senior want to date a freshman? She's always going over in her head, and then when he goes to uni, he's like, why, or rather college, why would someone in college want to date she a junior or a sophomore, whatever the second year of high school is called. I always get the second and third year mixed up. Freshman and senior are obvious, but the second and third year, I can never remember which one is which. Anyway, she goes to visit him in his college dorm, and he is pretty straight up, when are we gonna start having sex? And I'm like, she is only 15 years old. Plus as well, I know Mia is a princess, but Mia is very similar to how she is in the films. She's not sure of herself. She is so not confident. And Michael says to her, oh my god. I hated him in this moment. He was like, look, it's fine if you don't want to have sex with me, it's fine. But please no, I won't wait around forever. I wanted to step through the page and slap this man silly. So he was horrible to her. It kind of came out by the end of the book that he kind of meant it as a joke, but I was like, that's not funny, especially to someone like Nia. She is so deeply insecure. If someone said that to me, I'd be like, I'd take it so serious. Like, I would be able to find that as a joke. She loves Michael. She's in love with this man. Yeah, wasn't happy. However, it was good for drama. I liked it. In terms of a writer's standpoint, I liked it for the relationship drama that ensued. But as like a Michael Moskowitz lover, I was outraged, to be honest. But anyway, at the same time, Mia in this book is also running for student council president. It's the start of the new school year. Lily always wants to be the student council president, so her idea is if Mia wins, I can be a deputy. After a couple of weeks, Mia steps down because she doesn't want to do it, and then I become the student council president. And Mia gives this amazing speech. Oh my god, one of the best things I've ever read in my entire life. Oh my god, it was amazing. You gotta read it. I gave it 5 stars. Michael, yes, did annoy me, but I did think it was really well written and probably a pretty accurate depiction of a teenage relationship, especially when one person is very, very ready and the other person is not. Although Michael, that's possibly is because she's not ready. Because she is a child, what is wrong with you? I don't know. And then we have 7th Heaven, which I gave 4 stars. I didn't enjoy this one as much, but I still really liked it. I think my least favourite one, was it the 5th one or the 4th one? I gave it like 3.5 stars, one of them. I can't remember. But anyway, this was great, and I did actually kind of start shipping Mia with somebody else. So basically there's been this like silent character throughout the books who sits in the cafeteria and he gets the chili, but he hates that they put corn in it, so he just picks the corn out of it. However, in this book he actually becomes part of the friend group because basically Mia on the student council has accidentally spent all the money on really cool recycling bins from the school, and now they can't hire out some kind of like hall for the graduation ceremony, so they need to get some quick cash together to cover their losses so they can still hire out this hall. And Mia's grandma decides the way to do that is at my benefit for the Genovian Olive Growers Association, Mia and her friends are going to put on a play about the history of Genovia. And it is so funny, so hilarious. The play itself, actually I'd go and watch it, it sounds quite good to be honest. And the character of JP, aka the guy who takes corn out of his chili, was such a great character. I thought it was so absolutely lovely. It kind of transpires that Lily sort of had feelings for him, but I thought he had such great chemistry with Mia, and after everything Michael had said to her in the last book, I was just like, I feel like she should totally get with JP, break up with Michael. However, Mia really loves Michael. I didn't really think that she had feelings for JP, but I definitely feel like he might have had some towards her. I don't know, but I'm excited to see what happens next. I'm a bit unsure about the Lily pairing because she really didn't talk to him all that much in the book. The next book I want to talk about is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, which is book 1 in the Mistborn. Well, I was about to say trilogy. On the back it says it is a trilogy. However, when you look in, like, this is the inside front cover, there is more than 3. So this is The Final Empire, and this is the next 2, which are like, this is a book borrowed from my brother, which is why it looks gross. However, there's more. So I'm like, is this a trilogy? My brother says you only need to read the first 3, but then like, well, why do the next 3 exist? I'm a bit confused basically. So if someone who has read these can explain possibly without spoiling things, if it's gonna spoil things, then don't bother, because I really want to read the next one. But yeah, I borrowed this from my brother, which is why has these stains on it. I don't know. So my brother read this first, then my mum, then my brother's girlfriend, and now me. And I read this on a trip to Scotland. It was a coach trip. I love doing coach trips with those little people. They're my favourite holidays. I genuinely enjoy them. So I was like, this is the perfect time to start this. Usually when I'm being introduced to a new fantasy world, especially when something is more high fantasy like this, I like to really take my time, find a good hour or 2 to sit down and really immerse myself in a world. When I'm reading something that isn't fantasy, I'm like, oh yeah, I can just read a chapter of that. But when something is like this kind of fantasy, I want to really sit down, get fully immersed, really know what's going on, instead of just reading a chapter and then putting it down for several hours and not picking it back up. That's kind of what I like to do. So I usually reserve these books when I'm going on a long car ride, long plane ride, long train ride. Something where I know I'm going to have a lot of uninterrupted time basically. So, however, first I hated this book. So as I said, I was on this coach ride. Now I didn't have to be up super early for this coach ride. We were only going to Scotland. I live in the north of England. It's not that far away. It was a long coach ride, and we were going to the Highlands, which is, you know, high up in Scotland, right to the north. But I really wasn't tired on this coach ride. However, this book at first bored me so much out of my mind that I actually fell asleep at page 30. And I am not like saying that for emphasis, I legitimately fell asleep. I was not tired. I fell asleep because it bored me so much. I nearly fell asleep again at page 60, but thankfully at page 65 it really picked up, and from that point I started loving it, which is why, one reason why it got 4 stars. Another reason why it got 4 stars is because about halfway through the book I managed to predict the ending. So it's kind of like, you made that a little bit too obvious for me, so I didn't get a full 5 stars for those 2 reasons. But otherwise, I loved it. I definitely feel like the opening could have been done so much better, but I absolutely love all the different characters, all their relationships. My favourite character was Breeze, so I was really shocked we didn't die. Usually when I pick a favourite side character, like 9 times out of 10 they end up dead. So I am expecting him to die eventually. Don't tell me if he does, but I'm expecting him to. But I really loved it. Even though I worked out what was going to happen, I still really enjoyed the ending and stuff. It was great. I think it was done so well. The fantasy world building, when it eventually got going with the different kind of metals and what they did and stuff for the Allomancers and the Mistborns, was explained really well. And I didn't find out till the end, which would have maybe been helpful if you put it at the front. There's like a little, it's called a Ars Arcanum? I'm not sure. And it basically tells you what each of the metals do. That was really helpful when I got to the end of the book. I obviously didn't go to the end because it's the ending, didn't want to spoil it for myself. But I really enjoyed it. I'm hoping to start the second one soon, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do it this month or maybe next month. I am not often the kind of person who feels the need to read one fantasy book and then the next in the series immediately. I don't mind waiting in between them a little bit, so I'm not sure. However, everyone so far who has read The Well of Ascension, which is the second one, has told me that it is very, very slow and a little boring for like the first half of the book. So I'm looking forward to that. So the next book I read was Papillon by Henri Charriere. No, I don't have to say the name of the novel or the author in an English accent. I can speak some French, I am certainly not fluent, and I discovered that there are some words I can't say in a French accent and some words I can't say in an English accent either, really. Obviously Henri, the first name, but basically I discovered this problem when I was lucky enough to get to go to a movie premiere in Paris. It was the Miraculous movie premiere. I have another YouTube channel where I talk about this French TV show called Miraculous Ladybug. It's about superheroes. It's really good sometimes. And I got to go to the movie premiere. It was in Paris, so we got our seats. I went out to like the concession stand. It was just in the cinema. Went out to the concession stand to get me and my mum some water and some food. Obviously it's a cinema. They didn't have loads of different things, but they had bags of sweets. They had Maltesers. So I was ordering, and I was just stood there looking at the lady, and in my head I was like, I don't know how to say Maltesers in a French accent. So I just had to point at it. I felt so embarrassed. So I'm not really sure how to pronounce the title or the author's last name in an English accent, but it was really, really good. So this is non-fiction. I don't read a ton of non-fiction if I'm not already interested in the topic. It's not like fiction. Fiction, I pretty much read anything. Non-fiction, I am much pickier. However, my mum recommended this to me and I really liked it. So, however, I will say, even though it's non-fiction, there have been a lot of back and forth about whether it is 100% true, and a lot of people feel, like scholars and stuff, feel that some of it is true, like the opening circumstances are true and the ending circumstances are true, but the ensuing events happen to other people and they've kind of been all compiled into one and made it seem like it all happens to only one person. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But I gave it 3.5 stars, really liked it. It's basically about this man, Henri. He is in Paris and he's a criminal. He's kind of like part of the Paris underground, if you will, basically. However, he is like, okay, yeah, I steal things off people, I'm not a good person, however, I would never murder someone. But he has been accused of murder, and basically a witness has been paid off though. He has no chance in hell of getting away with this. He is sentenced and he is sent away from Paris to French Guiana, to a penal colony to serve, I think his sentence is like 35 years. And he's obviously not happy. Even if he had done it, I don't think anyone would be happy of being sent to a penal colony in French Guiana. Like, I wouldn't be happy. Like, no, just let me go to prison in Paris. Let me at least stay in the city. Like, I have a wife, I have a family. I'm never gonna be able to see them when I'm in French Guiana. So he is like, he's pretty annoyed, as you would be. And the whole time, this whole book is just packed with prison breaks. If you read/watched The Shawshank Redemption and your favourite bit was the end with the prison break, then you will love this book because it is just back to back to back to back. Prison break after prison break after prison break. There's this one point where, so because he keeps breaking out the prisons, he eventually gets captured and taken to another prison, hoping he doesn't get out of this one. And the governor, who is French, of this prisoner says to him, he's like, look, I don't like being here, but in like 3 months' time, I get to go back to Paris with my family. However, if anyone escapes this prison, including you, because I know you're going to, if anyone escapes and we don't get them back, another 6 months gets added and I have to stay here even longer. So he's like, could you please wait to escape until I have gone? And Henri, whose nickname is Papillon because he has a tattoo of a butterfly on his chest, is like, sure, that's a reasonable request. Yeah, I'll do it because I also want to go back to France. I will do this for you. However, the whole time he's waiting, Henri is planning, he is planning, he is planning, he's getting everything ready, he needs to escape. As soon as his governor leaves, he's like, it's go time, let's go. So like I said, obviously at the end he does ultimately get free, and at the start it is public record that he was convicted of this crime, but of course it is up to you to first of all use your discernment if he really did it. Personally, I don't think he did, but he also doesn't really offer any evidence to the contrary. He's just like, the jury's rigged, this witness has been paid to say anything about me even though I wasn't even there, I don't even know this man, it wasn't me. But also like, it's been noted that probably he didn't escape from prison this many times. Perhaps he had a cellmate who did escape from such a prison and he used this story as part of his story. Honestly, personally, I don't really care if he truly didn't break out this many times, but I did think it was really, really enjoyable, and I do like the way he kind of changes over the course of the novel. He's very much at the start of the novel, he's like, as soon as I get back to France, I'm gonna find the other lawyer, I'm gonna find every member of the jury, I'm gonna find that witness, I'm gonna unalive every single one of them and get revenge. He's like, even though I'm not a murderer, I will murder these people. But then by the end of the novel, he's like, I have other things to do now. So I did really enjoy it. The penultimate book for this month was the third Chronicles of Narnia book, which is The Horse and His Boy, which I gave 3 stars. So far has been my least favourite. I gave The Magician's Nephew and The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe 5 stars each, was totally in love with them, but I just really didn't enjoy this one at all. So basically this one, it's not in Narnia, it's set in like, I guess the country next to Narnia, which is called Archenland. And it's basically about a boy. He lives with his father, but his father does kind of treat him a bit like an indentured servant, think kind of like Cinderella sort of stuff. And one day this like wealthy merchant comes to their house, and the boy starts talking to the horse can talk, and they decide to escape together because this guy's saying like, look, they know I'm an intelligent horse, if they see this kind of horse wandering around on his own, they're going to be like, oh, he's escaped, let's take him back. So he needs a human with him to ride him, so people won't think that, will think this horse belongs to the boy. They meet a girl who's also a runaway, she also has a horse, also a talking horse, it's great, and basically their aim is to get to Narnia. And I just really didn't like it. I just felt like it really lacked a lot of the signature Narnia magic. The next one is Prince Caspian, which actually, as of filming this, I'm actually going to start reading today. So fingers crossed, I'm hoping it is better than this one, but I don't know. I'm not sure I can pinpoint. Like with the other books I didn't enjoy so much this month, although obviously this book I enjoyed more than Ringworld and the Infernal Desire Machines, but like it was just a bit, I don't know, I can't work out the way to tell you why I just didn't enjoy it. It just didn't have the Narnia vibes, basically. I can't think of another way to explain it, but I did really enjoy getting to see Susan and Edmund grown up, because like in the second one you see them as children for most of the novel, then the final chapter they have grown up, but then they go back to the real world and they're children again. So I really enjoyed getting to see Susan and Edmund as fully grown adults in this. So this book is set like between the penultimate and last chapter of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. So I did enjoy that bit. I did enjoy aspects, but it was just a bit at certain places. I don't know, maybe it's because only the ending took place in Narnia. I definitely think the ending was my favourite part. So maybe just because it didn't happen in Narnia. Prince Caspian does happen in Narnia, so I'm hoping I'm going to enjoy that more just by virtue of where it's set. And the final book I read in May was The Botanist's Daughter by, I've been saying Kayte Nunn, but should it be Kayte? Because it's got the Y in it. But I feel like it still could be Kate. Kate. I don't know. But anyway, I really enjoyed this. So this is historical fiction, sort of. It's kind of half historical fiction, half modern fiction. I haven't read a ton of historical fiction. It's definitely not my absolute favourite thing, but I did really enjoy this. So when I say it half is, it half isn't. Half of the story takes place in modern day Australia, and the other half takes place in like late 1800 Cornwall and then eventually Chile. So basically in the 1800s, this girl called Elizabeth, she lives with her father who is slowly dying, and her father is a plant collector, exotic plant collector. If you don't know, Cornwall is right at the bottom of the UK, and because it's right at the bottom, it is usually the warmest place in the UK. So as a result, you can grow quite a variety of exotic plants that you wouldn't be able to survive in the rest of the island because it's too cold. For example, some of the plants you could grow in Cornwall you couldn't grow up here in the northwest of England. It's far too cold, but in Cornwall the temperature is often a lot warmer because of where it's positioned, so you can plant stuff like that. It does actually mention in this book the Lost Gardens of Helligan, which I've actually been to the other year, and they have quite a lot of exotic plants. They can even grow pineapples there. That's how warm it is. Usually in most places in the UK, unless you have like a temperature controlled greenhouse, you cannot grow fruit like that here. So It's a really cool place for finding exotic plants there because they can thrive there because it is far warmer. But anyway, Elizabeth's father is like, I need to go to Chile on an expedition. I need to find this certain plant and make sure no one else can get their hands on it. I need to bring it back to people at Kew Gardens and stuff so they can examine it, inspect it, do whatever with it, because in the right hands it can be used to cure so many illnesses, but in the wrong hands it can also kill people. However, her father dies and she's like, this is so important, I need to go in my father's place. So Elizabeth goes to Chile with her maid to find this plant. Meanwhile, in modern Australia, Anna is renovating her grandmother's house. Her grandmother has just died. She left her the house in the will, and in the wall behind some old bookcases she finds a tin with sketchbooks and seeds inside, and she's like, huh, what is this about? What's going on? So she goes on basically a historical mystery expedition to try and find out what happened. I won't tell you exactly what happens and what like the connection between Elizabeth and Anna is, but it was really interesting. The reason it's not a full 5 stars though is basically, okay, so they want to find this plant in Chile, great, and Elizabeth is like, she has a rival that she has to beat. I felt first of all the rival could have been in the book a whole lot more because I didn't really feel much danger. They literally see him like maybe 3 times. I'm like, like there wasn't really that big of an antagonist in the book, if you get what I mean. And also I'm like, okay, well, let's say Elizabeth finds the plant first. It's a plant. It's not like a piece of buried treasure that's only one of. It's a plant. There's more than likely going to be more than one of this plant. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm like, okay, well, what if, yeah, she finds it first and gets it back to Kew before this man can even find it? Okay, cool. But then what if he finds another one and then uses it for nefarious purposes? You know what I mean? Like, her finding it and getting it to Kew isn't going to stop this man from finding another one and using it for whatever. So I was like, that's a bit, you know, like, it's not the only plant in the world, you know what I mean? Like, there are loads of, yeah, anyway. So I did really enjoy it despite that. I thought it was really good, and if you like plants, I think you'll enjoy it, and I definitely have a newfound appreciation for botanical illustration after reading this book. So that is everything I read in May. Of course, I'd love to know what you all read in May and what you thought of what I read in May. I will see you in the next one. Bye!